Center here at 502 North Ridgewood Road. Thank you, Tony.
Quite well.
In South Orange, New Jersey. We'll begin by saying the prayer for the spreading of the teachings of the throughout the length and breadth of the West, which you'll find scrolling down on the front page. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems and of the truths of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. And for all people living there together with their near ones who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like a waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Victoria Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those of noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, taste, no sensation, no object of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. Since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear, they transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequal mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tadyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that Samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. generate bodhicitta. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddhas, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So let's do a rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So I've been suggesting that as we say Om Mani Padme Hum, we think about breathing in the suffering of others and in the form of some dark smoke that extinguishes the fire, or soot that extinguishes the fire of self-cherishing that we have at our hearts. And this fire of self-cherishing is the root of all our suffering, all our difficulties. And in this Ethics for the New Millennium, as we've been exploring the ways by which we bring about happiness in our lives. And His Holiness has been leading us through our worldly pursuit of happiness, which is usually acquiring those things that we desire and feeling that happiness is reached by having our wishes satisfied, our senses pleased by outside things, whether it's our sense, our physical senses, or our eye sense, or it can be, if you're buying perfume, it can be the sense of smell that's satisfied. If you see something wonderful, it's the eye sense. If you hear music, it's the hearing sense. So it's outside stimuli that satisfy. However, that satisfaction only lasts for as long as those senses are being stimulated, and they also tend to become harder and harder to satisfy. As His Holiness says, it's sort of like drinking salty water when you're thirsty. You can never quite quench your thirst. And he's leading us towards what might be a real satisfaction, or real attainment of happiness, a real state of a happiness that doesn't depend on outside stimuli. And he introduced the notion of inner peace, and suggested that it was by cultivating inner peace that we arrive at a place of true happiness. So do you remember what this inner peace is and how we work towards bringing it about?
Be mindful of ourselves, our thoughts. I remember my answer was a lack of wanting. So once you stop desiring things, it's a form of inner peace. And also it's meditation of understanding the reality of things, the way things are, combined with bodhicitta. And that to me is inner peace.
It's the whole show. Contentment and a good purpose.
So he brings in the whole notion of working for others, and that even if we can't actually satisfy all of their needs, the effort that we put into doing so, that effort itself brings about inner peace. And so the notion of working towards being of benefit to others as being a secret to inner peace is, and as we were, that which inhibits that notion of inner peace, and therefore that notion of happiness, is our self-cherishing, our preoccupation with ourselves. And so this meditation and visualization of extinguishing the flame of self-cherishing contributes to that inner peace. And if the more we think about and recognize the fact that that self-cherishing is the cause of our unhappiness, our lack of happiness, and our lack of inner peace, the more we actually put effort into recognizing that there is no actual self, as you suggested and what you said. But in this visualization, we simply work at diminishing the force of self-grasping. So you have these two things. You have self-cherishing, which is this belief in a self. And as a result of self-cherishing, you have self-grasping. You're grasping at a sense of self. You're wishing to satisfy it. You're acting upon that belief in a sense of self.
So the way to stop self-grasping is to get rid of self-cherishing. That's the formula, right?
And to work at countering self-grasping by developing our concern for others and recognizing the happiness that
occurs from that.
So
I found that the work of trying to help others can sometimes be stressful enough that inner peace doesn't seem very close, but afterwards you feel a lot of peace and you sit back and reflect on it. During the process, the way the world is, it can be kind of rough sometimes.
yes, and being skillful in the method by which we go about being helpful includes caring for ourselves, protecting, resting and those kinds of things, which may help the challenges you're suggesting. I mean, I think we should include those within the method of helping others, keeping ourselves healthy, keeping ourselves, going off to Siena for a little.
Yes. Go to the gelato place.
Eating.
Skillful means. Whatever the word is.
So we reached 59 is where you what?
I listen, I don't read it.
59 is the last, yes. Moreover, we find that the happiness which gratifies, that's the last line, the happiness which gratifies themselves, in fact, transient. And then,
It's the back.
most of that, you could tell by the tone, he's been here too long.
I can tell by the footsteps. So we'll go back a little bit.
The guy is here, Peter.
Yeah, I saw the triangles.
So His Holiness talks about there are three kinds of contributions we can make: positive, neutral, and negative. So the other major sources of inner peace and thus of genuine happiness is, of course, the actions we undertake in our pursuit of happiness. We can classify these in terms of those which make a positive contribution towards it, those whose effect is neutral, and those which have a negative effect on it. By considering what differentiates those acts which make for lasting happiness from those which offer only a transit sense of well-being, we see that in the latter case, the activities themselves have no positive value. Like, what would you think such things would be?
Activities that have no positive value.
Yeah.
An example of that?
Yeah.
Negative value.
Well, an example.
An example. Self-cherishing.
No. I mean,
Drinking.
going into a bar and
Okay. Exactly.
Okay. Unless you're a Buddha, there's a book that was.
They don't need
called
this
Buddha
information.
Goes into a Bar.
No, we're not talking about Buddhas. We're talking about sentient beings
Oh, okay.
in pursuit of
Yeah,
happiness.
what does it need this information? He's done. Graduated last year, Jim.
Nobody went into a bar for a certain purpose.
Let's hear. There's
Yeah,
a
to
joke.
teach-
Let's go.
No, to teach
Oh,
people to.
I thought it was
I
a
read it
joke.
many years ago. It's a
Who
very
walks
good
into a
book.
bar and orders,
You think there were bars in?
No, it's a modern book written. It's just a
modern Buddha.
modern book, a modern Buddha written by I don't know who, but very interesting.
So, I mean, when I asked the question of what would be an example of a negative
Action.
action that has negative effects, the what we're trying to develop is a certain ability to discern, a certain ability to assume responsibility for how we act, so that we engage in actions that lead to a positive result, to our eventual true, solid, real happiness, rather than the sort of momentary happiness that going into the bar and having a few beers might provide. Yes. It's been a long time. I don't know.
And the next day's hangover, which you don't miss.
What if you only have half a beer or at the most?
Who does that?
Me, if I do.
You leave your friends. Too much lasagna. It's very bad.
So,
All right.
by considering the
Differentiates those acts.
which make for lasting happiness from those which offer only a transient sense of well-being, we see that in the latter case, the activities themselves have no positive value. So, but you have to really think about this. In other words, these are the thought processes that we have to bring into the way we lead our lives.
Mm.
We have a desire for something sweet, perhaps, or for some fashionable item of clothing, or to experience something new. We have no real need for it. We simply want that thing or to enjoy that experience or sensation. And we set about satisfying our craving without much thought. Now, I'm not suggesting there is necessarily anything wrong in this. An appetite for the concrete is part of human nature. We want to see, we want to touch, we want to possess. But as I suggested earlier, it is essential we recognize that when we desire things for no real reason beyond the enjoyment they give us, ultimately they tend to bring us more problems. So that's what we were discussing. So that's a heavy.
Very heavy, because reflexively we don't think that way, at least I don't. I don't default to that thought.
So reflexively we don't. But the more we're able to develop certain mindfulness, the more we can develop a new reflexive.
Yes, that's the key.
It's almost like teaching a child, it's like training our mind, it's almost like that.
Yeah. Or a cat.
It is like that. Well, no, I mean, I don't know how much you can train cats, but
You can't. They train me.
you can train yourself.
Yeah, I hope.
Wasn't there an act in a circus of cats doing all sorts of things? Haven't people trained
I
cats?
think it's possible.
Dogs, yes. Cats, I don't know.
I think there was I've seen a cat
There
act.
was a man around Central Park, and he had a bunch of cats that were trained to just sit there, but I think they were drugged.
Of course, Central Park.
And
What do you
he
expect?
was panhandling, of course, and look at my cats, and they would just all sit there like this, perfectly in a row. And everything. I'm like, something
Catnip.
creepy about this.
So
Moreover.
when we desire things for no real reason beyond the enjoyment they give us, and I think we have to be honest that most of us pursue things for no real reason beyond the enjoyment they give us. That the fact that they give us enjoyment itself is the justification for pursuing them.
And habit enters in too.
And as a result of it, there is a habit, yes. But if we really recognize the extent to which ultimately they tend to bring us more problems, that should put the brakes on. That should develop the self-discipline that holds us back. But it's tough. Moreover, we find that like the happiness which gratifying such perceived needs brings, they are themselves, in fact, transient. So the things are transient, and the happiness which gratifies, which the happiness which derives from this pursuit, that gratification, they are both transient. Now, the things being transient, this contains a lot to think about. I mean, we could take this as being the basis for analytical meditation, because to recognize that our pursuit of things that we simply pursue out of a wish to enjoy that. I went for a walk and I came across the ice cream vendor, and I must confess that I had a little ice cream, and I asked the woman who was selling them, what do you recommend? She said, this Dove, it was called, with a dark chocolate on the outside.
Oh, that's legal.
But it is a perfect description of something that has no real value, and I pursued simply out of a desire for the enjoyment that it gave me. And ultimately, it sugar is bad for us.
Yeah. Calories.
Moreover, we find that, like the happiness which gratifying such perceived needs brings, they, I suppose that's the ice cream, are themselves in fact transient. Yes, the ice cream is so transient that it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. So we can think of, well, I will put a Dove bar, is that what it's called? A Dove?
Bar, yeah, and it's a sort of shaped a little differently in this.
Yeah, it's a little square. It's not.
Yeah, it's not very big, but it's very rich.
So,
not good.
I don't think I can quite put it into the neutral category.
No,
I think it's. I have to acknowledge that it's in the negative.
Who craves the neutral?
But
Swiss, yeah.
But I think that what?
Been here too long. I said, who craves what's neutral? She said, the Swiss.
No, they're into chocolate, aren't they? I'm afraid. We have to admit that chocolate is ultimately not so good for you. Ultimately, they bring us problems.
Oh, yes.
We must acknowledge that it is this very lack of concern for the consequences that underlies extreme action. Like inflicting, now here, this is really, I don't think that we suffer from this. Inflicting pain on others, even killing itself, either of which can certainly satisfy a person's desires for a short time, though those desires are severely negative ones. So, of course, we're not going to go out killing people, but we recognize that those people who do kill people do so totally overwhelmed by the belief that doing so will bring them some form of happiness, satisfaction. You know, they have accomplished something. Or again, in the field of economic activity, the pursuit of profit without consideration of potentially negative consequences can undoubtedly give rise to feelings of great joy when success comes. But in the end, there is suffering. The environment is polluted. Our unscrupulous methods drive others out of business. The bombs we manufacture cause death and injury. So that's
today's headline.
But this is not, I mean, we can sit and read this, but to really infuse it into our consciousness, into our way of looking, way of seeing, way of reacting, we have to really consider it. We have to We have to knead it into ourselves. As to those activities which can lead to a sense of peace and lasting happiness, consider what happens when we do something we believe to be worthwhile. Perhaps we conceive of a plan to help our community and eventually, after much effort, bring it to fruition. When we analyze activities of this sort, we find they involve discernment. So we've gone through the neutral and negative actions, and now we're coming to the need to analyze and determine that something is positive, and that we do by means of discernment. And discernment is something we really have to develop. When we analyze activities of this sort, we find they involve discernment. They entail weighing different factors, including both the likely and the possible consequences for ourselves and for others. In this process of evaluation, the question of morality, of whether our intended actions are ethical, arises automatically. So while the initial impulse might be to be deceitful in order to attain some end, we reason that although we may gain temporary happiness, this way, actually the long-term consequences of behaving thus are likely to bring trouble. So that development of discernment. So how do we, what's discernment?
The heavy word, the big, always present mental factor.
It's an awareness, yeah.
I don't know the word.
Instead of an impulse, it's an awareness. And then from there you judge what's right and what's wrong. You discern what's the right thing to do or not.
Yeah, you have to discern the importance of pacing yourself when you're working towards
Fox,
so,
maybe.
Fox? At this time?
Yeah, Twilight. Watching Fox News.
Oh no, kids.
Isn't discernment one of the 5 omnipresent factors? I don't know. Feeling, contact feeling, discrimination. That's discernment.
So morality, the question of morality, of whether our intended actions are ethical, arises automatically. So the more we discern, then these decisions and the pros and cons become automatic.
I'm sorry, the more you discern.
In this process of evaluation, the question of morality, of whether our intended actions are ethical, arises automatically.
That's on a certain level.
Yeah, most people
if you're very...
think Trump thinks that way. No, shouldn't say that. No.
Maybe if you're a monk.
So while the initial impulse might be to be deceitful in order to attain some end, we reason that although we may gain temporary happiness this way, actually the long-term consequences of behaving thus are likely to bring trouble. So here this moral or ethical way of viewing arising automatically is the result of a thought process. We reason that although we may gain temporary happiness this way, actually the long-term consequences of behaving thus are likely to bring trouble. We therefore deliberately renounce one course of action in favor of another. And it is through achieving our aim by means of effort and self-sacrifice, through considering both the short-term benefit to us and the long-term effects on others' happiness, and sacrificing the former, the short-term benefits to us, for the latter, the long-term benefits for others, that we attain the happiness which is characterized by peace and genuine satisfaction. So I think that in a nutshell here is the essence of a sort of spiritual way of life. And that spiritual way of life is not something arrived at by some esoteric means. It's by reasoning and seeing, determining what the beneficial way is, and by recognizing the value of that and the negative results of a more, let's say, selfish, self-centered way, refraining from the self-centered and working towards the other. That's the real spiritual work.
With the ordinary mind. Ordinary mind. A lot of people think you go into some sort of trance and it all comes to you, and that's it. That never happens.
No.
Never. At least not to me. I
Tell
can't
me, how do you get to Buddhahood? Practice, practice, practice.
But this is the practice. It's not
Yeah.
some sort of...
But it's not some, But the stories you hear, someone blew me away. All of a sudden, it all made sense. I don't know. All of a sudden, it never
Maybe
makes
from
sense.
the past life.
I don't know.
No, I think it's really
the work.
important to recognize.
Well, like you said before, this effort itself brings out some confidence, some peace, some level of less tension, more space in the mind than you had before. Just making the habitual effort in the right direction, it helps.
So we therefore deliberately renounce one course of action in favor of another, and it is through achieving our aim by means of effort and self-sacrifice, through considering both the short-term benefit to us and the long-term effects on the other's happiness, and sacrificing the former for the latter, that we attain the happiness which is characterized by peace and by genuine satisfaction. That's I mean, not only is it clear and logical, but it contains so much. Our differing responses to hardship confirm this. When we go on holiday, our basic motive is leisure. If then, due to bad weather, due to clouds and rain, we are frustrated in our desire to spend time relaxing outside, our happiness is easily destroyed. On the other hand, when we seek not merely temporary satisfaction, when striving to achieve a goal, the hunger, fatigue, or discomfort we may experience hardly bothers us. In other words, altruism is an essential component of those actions which lead to genuine happiness. That's
Altruism is the opposite of self-cherishing.
yes, the regard for the welfare of others. Well, you know, I read this and I sort of feel there's no need to go any further, that this really contains...
It's a meditation session itself, all these words. And a life-changing if you keep
and, you know,
permeating it in.
You've been a doctor, and as a doctor, you are practicing this. You are, you know, engaged with the hardship that you mentioned at the very beginning in being of benefit to others. And it can be painful, and it can be difficult, and it can be challenging, and it can be all those things. But at the end of it, there is some kind of a joy in having helped, and that effort is virtuous, valid. The three categories, it's the positive contribution which brings true happiness. So thank you. Are you cold?
Cold.
Well, in here,
Open the door for a minute.
there is thus an important distinction to be made between what we might call ethical and spiritual acts. An ethical act is one where we refrain from causing harm to others' experience or expectation of happiness. Spiritual acts we can describe in terms of those qualities mentioned earlier of love, compassion, patience, forgiveness, humility, tolerance, and so on, which presume some level of concern for others' well-being. Now that's interesting. I've never heard spiritual defined that way. We find that spiritual actions we undertake, which are motivated not by narrow self-interest but out of our concern for others, actually benefit ourselves. And not only that, but they make our lives meaningful. At least this is my experience. So, you who work at the United Nations devoted to solving the problems of the world, of others, of 7 billion people.
It's not easy.
But it's interesting because whatever the action is, whether you're a doctor or whether you're working to
Could be a good one.
solve the problems of 7 billion people, are we at 7 or are we at 8 yet?
8 probably. I think it's
Eight?
going
I
for
thought we were
No,
we
no.
might not be at that.
Each of those actions, in addition to the action maybe being of benefit to others, the action maybe being harmful to others, whatever it is, that discernment that we have to engage in demands a level of wisdom and demands a level of seeing whether something will be of benefit to the person. We can't be sloppy about it. And our motivation, the intention that we have in doing it, there are levels of virtue, and we have to deepen. I mean, part of the spiritual practice is purifying the motivation with which we engage in even virtuous actions. When you give, if you give, that action of giving can have all sorts of, what would you say are the different levels of motivation that can accompany giving $1 to someone in the street?
Negative motivation would be somebody who's just showing off, like somebody who wants to be on camera or be on the internet and oh, look, I'm rich and I'm giving somebody $1 like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe an example of a negative motivation. Neutral motivation would be somebody who gives $1 without thinking about it. I don't know if that's possible. Like,
so I wonder whether in even the negative action, even if it's done to show off or whatever, the fact that you are giving up $1 to this person, whether there is some tiny little element of virtue in that.
You're saying it's mixed.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Yeah, probably. At least you gave something and the person does
Exactly.
benefit.
Maybe, yeah, because you are the act of giving, so you realize that the act of giving is a positive thing. So by showing off, you're saying, look, I'm doing something positive.
It's hard to really chart that, but it's interesting.
so. It has a little
It's a
taste of virtue, though
No, it's
I think that there's a lot of.
motivated mostly by self.
All right, so that's one. Then there's
Neutral one. Maybe there's a beggar going around Penn Station, and the person doesn't want to be bothered that he's
Yeah.
walking around too much, so he just gives them $1 just so that he will leave them alone, or she will leave them alone. And the virtuous one is when you really care for the homeless person or the beggar, and you want to really genuinely help him, and you give without any kind of attachment, and you see the emptiness behind him, the beggar, and yourself, and you give like that. What did you have?
wait. So you yeah. Bodhicitta is a whole other quality. So within
That's
the
a very
virtue,
weighted word.
within the virtuous, you have layers. So what are the layers?
Also, within the virtuous?
Hmm.
Well, one layer, there might be an element of selfishness still there because you're thinking, okay, this is going to benefit me too because I'm putting this money in the merit bank. Not only am I helping,
And run out and buy a lotto ticket immediately. Everyone thinks that, but that's true.
Or
We
that you
have
want to
these
feel
thoughts,
good
yeah.
about yourself at the end of the day. You know,
Yeah.
oh, I did this.
Yeah, it's not bad. That's also good. I get it.
Yeah. Other layers of.
Mhm.
The other one would be completely selfless giving. Just, oh my God, this person really needs something. Without even thinking, you just take out your wallet and just give.
The three spheres, you could do that
whatever
too.
you have. Yeah.
The three elements.
Or, for example, the other day I saw this guy
Gift
on the
giving.
floor when I was having lunch, and I was noticing the people that were
You
walking
must have
by.
been at Rosario.
And he was just sleeping, and the people, like, some people would refuse to look at him, some people would look at him like, oh, they would have some sort of care, like,
Is
oh,
he
is he
single?
okay?
No.
And yeah, I mean, he was clearly a homeless guy, and he was just passed out on the sidewalk.
Mm.
And when I got up after eating lunch, I just checked him to see if he was okay. I was thinking of calling 911 or something, but he was just sleeping. He was okay.
So if we give and if we say, oh, I'm giving this person $1, but I wish that this could be of benefit to all the people in need.
That's the part I forgot, yes.
That's linking it to mine.
That's the biggest part, yeah.
So
the emptiness part.
stretching our thought. And then Tony, what are the
Yeah,
three
that's
spheres?
right.
No, but you mentioned
The three spheres. The gift, the giving, the recipient, the whole elements. I
say
get
it.
confused, so I'm sorry to get too old now. The gift itself, the giver, the act of giving, are all non-inherently existent.
Right.
You have to, but that,
are interdependent.
and it's interdependent, but that's why they're non-inherently existent, because they interdepend. But that's something I think you have to have automatically, but at least you could structure it in your mind that way, I'm doing this. But if you have no realization, just conceptual, that's not bad.
When you give, if you can think, I'm giving, but that act of giving depends on this, that, and the other
Yeah.
thing, on the person I'm giving to, on the what I'm giving, on me giving, and that thinking about interdependence breaks down the whole idea of giving has changed.
That, I don't know, that's a developed skill,
And then it could-
but a necessary
And then
one.
it becomes endless, right? Because you're giving to one person and then it goes everywhere.
And you can also think when you're
Dedicate.
giving, I'm giving to this person, but I, as I said before, wish I could be giving, and you can visualize giving to all.
Rinpoche used to go around Grand Central and visualize all the shops.
The jewelry store especially, yeah.
Yes. And he would go into
Top
Macy's,
layer.
to
yeah.
the flower show at Macy's, and
Him and
offer.
Captain
to all
Rinpoche
the
took some
Buddhists.
dirt from it to do a wealth ceremony for the Tibet Center. He went to the flower show at Macy's with all these orchids, and he got a small area, piece of dirt, put it in an envelope, and brought back to the house and did a luck ceremony. Because you should go to a place where there's wealth, where commerce is going on. So,
For what reason? I missed the.
for the benefit of the Tibet Center, a wealth ceremony. I
okay.
have no
I see.
idea what the
Okay.
what the systems are. He's a high level practitioner, spiritually realized people, and they need certain physical things when they do their rituals.
So where are we? Discernment.
The definition of spiritual act is very good.
I can say with full
Spiritual acts that we
confidence
can
that
describe
such
in
things
terms.
as so, at least, and not only that, but they make our lives meaningful. At
Yeah.
least this is my experience. Looking back over my life, I can say with full confidence that such things as the office of Dalai Lama, the political power it confers, even the comparative wealth it puts at my disposal, contribute not even a fraction to my feeling of happiness compared with the happiness I have felt on those occasions when I have been able to benefit others. Does this proposition stand up to analysis? Is conduct inspired by the wish to help others the most effective way to bring about genuine happiness? Consider the following. We humans are social animals. We come into the world as the result of others' actions. We survive here in dependence on others. Whether we like it or not, there is hardly a moment of our lives when we do not benefit from others' activities. For this reason, it is hardly surprising that most of our happiness arises in the context of our relationship with others. Nor is it so remarkable that our greatest joy should come from when we are motivated by concern for others. But that is not all. We find that not only do altruistic actions bring about happiness, but they also lessen our experience of suffering. Here I'm not suggesting that the individual whose actions are motivated by the wish to bring others happiness necessarily meets with less misfortune than the one who does not. Sickness, old age, and mishaps of one sort or another are the same for all of us. But the sufferings which undermine our internal peace, anxiety, frustration, disappointment, are definitely less. In our concern for others, we worry less about ourselves. When we worry less about ourselves, the experience of our own suffering is less intense.
Mentions that all the time.
It's also very free. It's a free experience.
What does this tell us? Firstly, because our every action has a universal dimension, a potential impact on others' happiness, ethics are necessary as a means to ensure that we do not harm others. Secondly, it tells us that genuine happiness consists in those spiritual qualities of love and compassion, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, humanity, and so on. Humility, sorry. It is these which provide happiness both for ourselves and for others.
So meditation, it's wonderful. Amazing.
So I'm going to reread that. In our concern for others, we worry less about ourselves. When we worry less about ourselves, the experience of our own suffering is less intense. What does this tell us? Firstly, because our every action has a universal dimension, a potential impact on others' happiness, ethics are necessary as a means to ensure that we do not harm others. Secondly, it tells us that genuine happiness consists in those spiritual qualities of love, compassion, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, humility, and so on. It is these which provide happiness both for ourselves and for others. So what does that say to
Yeah, it counters the idea that all the happiness is what I can get for myself, but he's showing you a different level that's possible, and he lives it. He said, I feel being Dalai Lama this or that is not as much happiness as when I can affect the lives of others positively. So I didn't paraphrase it. It's amazing. He's very precise in all these little points that he makes. Oh, love, compassion, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, humility.
So what's interesting here, he says that our every action has a universal dimension. That's a big pronouncement.
Interdependence.
Every virtuous action has an effect. The smallest action has some kind of effect on the universe. A potential impact on others' happiness. Ethics are necessary as a means to ensure that we do no harm. So he's bringing in this refraining from harming, the ethical aspect, and then the spiritual aspect. The second, genuine happiness consists in those spiritual qualities of love, compassion, patience. And it is these which provide happiness both for ourselves and for others. So we have to cultivate the ethical ability to refrain from harming others. And then we have to cultivate those spiritual qualities: compassion, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, humility. Well,
ethics are protection for us too, because we harm someone, we get the karmic debt. We incur karmic debt. Whereas, so if you follow ethics, you're freeing yourself from these things to start with. You may not be omniscient and know what to do or not do, but here are the rules. Do your best, and then he goes positive, where you find happiness, love, compassion, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, humility, and so on. Why did you say so on? Put them all. So on what? No, it's
I don't know. I find
in ordinary language, it's very deep. It's simple
this
words.
this has been it's so simple and yet it's so very profound.
It's a lifetime of application, that's for sure. I mean, you're not going to read this and then change overnight. You're going to have to bring it up, review it, make it part of your bloodstream, make it whatever.
On a very personal note,
Yes.
it reminds me of like reading RINPOCHE how to teach us. It's sort of coming up again while I'm hearing this. It's like a reminder of how we need to teach.
You give the whole to beggar. Never give the whole to beggar.
Yeah. I remember so many things. I don't know, maybe it comes because of the season, the summertime, when it's when people teach more at work. I have a lot of memories of him today.
So,
Gary, you have names?
Yeah.
George Hirano Reed, a friend of Aurora's, were asked to recite the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha Bhagavat Tathagata Arhat Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long for it with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavat is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Yana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration and linked palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are filled with glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha of the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore their foolishness are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure life. Let's read the 8 verses on training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those opposed to my own misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others, out of jealousy, treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. And the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the eight worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena like illusions, be released from the bondage of the past. Pray for the swift return. Exalted wisdom of all wisdom gathered in a drop. Sole refuge manifest in the form of one wearing saffron robes. Guru Santu Mandoji-chan, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from all of the vast ways of aspiration prayers, Lord, the speech of the victim of God's teaching, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guest in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serve the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you to existence end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full of teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel. Return as the glory of Losang Tempe, magnificent truth of the 3 precious gems, Mahakala, Kamayama, and Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors. May you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight. Thank you. Thank you. So, this Saturday we do not have Tara, but on Monday we will meet in New York at 151 West 30th Street on the 3rd floor. 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grazie.